Good morning, everyone. Today, my group, which is composed by Tejbir, Ryan, and myself, Karina, will talk about the ethical and legal issues on the right to repair. The presentation will have the following outline. First, introduction to give you a general understanding, followed by the moral issues and legal issues, and lastly, the solution that we have. So what is right to repair? The right to repair concept is to be able to repair equipment that you own or have a technician fix it for you. The equipment can be cell phones, video games, kitchen appliances, laundry appliances, air conditioner, farm machinery, and even more. Right to repair also signifies that companies should include manuals and instructions, also tools to help you diagnose the equipment to troubleshoot and solve the issue. The repair industry in Canada alone has generated 14 billion Canadian dollars, while the electronic repair industry generated 2 billion Canadian dollars. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about the moral issues. Since technology is evolving and new technologies are being implemented to devices are getting thrown out at an increasing speed. For instance, when a phone screen is replaced and it is not compatible with the device. The ethical issue in this is the environmental and health impact of the electronic waste, also known as e-waste. When consumers do not have the accessibility to parts or tools to fix their equipment, they will often discard it. E-waste is being sent to developing countries because of the growing demand for electronics. They can also salvage the parts that can be sold, like metals and plastics, which will reduce the material loop and be a source of income for families. The countries that receive the most e-waste are China, Ghana, Nigeria, Pakistan, and India. E-waste contains toxic chemicals such as lead, mercury, arsenic, cadmium, copper, barium, and chromium. These substances can leak from devices, and the ground will absorb it as well as contaminate water and food. Some of the health impacts of barium are that it increases blood pressure, changes in heart rhythm, stomach irritation, muscle weaknesses, nerve reflexes, swelling in brain, liver, and also the kidney. While lead can provoke kidney damage, anemia, and chronic neurotoxicity. Next slide. We can observe that e-waste is increasing. China has generated 7.2 million metric tons of e-waste in 2016, and it is predicted to increase to 51.6 million metric tons by 2050. Although people in different countries disassemble equipment to sell parts for financial gain, in Nigeria, 25 to 75% is still unusable, when they have reported to have at least 200 tons of e-waste by riverbanks and dump sites. Next slide, please. Using the non-consequentialist right-based approach to analyze the situation, right to repair can help lower by having accessibility to parts to fix their devices, which can diminish the environmental and health impact on individuals. Using the United Nations Human Rights to Water and Sanitation, it states that everyone is entitled to have access to sufficient, safe, acceptable, physical, accessible, and affordable water, which is not given to the individuals that are victims of electronic waste due to the health impacts it has. Additionally, Article 25 of the Universal of Human Rights, it declares that everybody has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care. Now I'm going to go hand it over to Ryan to discuss the legal issues.
So I'll be discussing the legal issues. So there's been a lot of discussion around the world, but I will just be covering some that happen in the provincial level and the federal level. So at the provincial level, in February of 2019, Ontario's government, the Liberal Party, they decided to propose a legislation called the Bill 72 Consumer Protection Amendment Act, right to repair electronic products. So basically, this was proposed then, and then after discussion for a few months, May of 2019, the government basically decided we're not going to go with that because it goes against one of our previous acts, the 2018 Open for Business Act. The government thought that by having this legislation, it would scare away some of the tech companies that basically would be providing their services and their special owned parts and whatever, as they would be forced to give away intellectual property rights and they would come at a loss. Um, so that's canceled out, but then it didn't stop there. At the federal level, we have been having discussions throughout the entire process, like years and years. February 2021, there was a discussion to amend the Copyright Act, more specifically diagnosis, maintenance, and repair. Um, it's challenging the locks impeding consumers from necessary repairs. It was amended to the INDU, which is a committee on the House of Commons, the Industry, Technology, and Science Committee, and they were then taken the task as of November 2021 to present to discuss and whether they should be providing some form of legislation. October 31st, 2022, Mr. Wilson Miao, the member of parliament covering the Richmond Center, basically was asked a few questions in regards to why regulate and how will regulating and providing legislation benefit others. Basically, he agreed that it's very important. The bill is it has consequences affecting the environment because consumers face a very strong dilemma when products nowadays are mostly made with planned obsolescence to limit the lifespan of the devices. Um, he even goes on to saying he had an experience where a product could have been easily fixed, but because the authorized part was not from a dealer of the product, it basically just did not allow the device to perform as normal. Um, Similar situation is if you have two Apple devices, brand new from the box, you take them out, swap their displays, they're just gonna prompt you with unable to verify this iPhone has a genuine display, and that was due to Apple not wanting to let users basically repair their own devices. But as of late, April 27th, 2022, Apple has released a post stating that they will be allowing users in the US the right to repair their devices by providing repair manuals and genuine Apple parts and tools through the Apple self-service repair store, which is one step closer to um, working towards right to repair. Next, I'll be handing it off to Tejbir.
Another legal issue associated with a product liability and insurance claim can arise by allowing the independent repair provider access to the parts and the manuals that no one talks about. Right now, product liability claims are well settled since, in order to prove a liability, one has to just prove that the product was defective when sold, or unreasonably dangerous, or cause injuries, or is not altered between the time it was distributed and when the injury occurred, which is fairly easy to identify. In case the right to repair is passed, because there will be technically very few barriers stopping an independent repair provider from extensively alternating a device. Since they will have access to software codes and other diagnostic data, it will be simpler for a manufacturer to just raise an issue regarding the liability claim. Similar issue can be raised in terms of insurance coverage, since most of the large companies have product liability insurance if they provide repair services, which in case of a lawsuit, the responsible parties can come forward and present a defense if the issuer was on the manufacturer side, or because of the poor repair job. If manufacturers are forced to reveal the data or the repair data to any unlicensed repair provider, such protection is no longer there. Insurance companies would have to consider the risk of manufacturer being obliged to settle the full amount of a claim because the repair provider lacked the coverage or the insurance coverage and wouldn't show up even if it does. This could result in manufacturers increasing the premiums of coverage, which the small businesses wouldn't be able to bear, and thus could deny repairs for expensive products above $1,000 or so. Regulations by themselves are unlikely to have significant impact on persons' ability to repair their own devices. Only if governmental bodies pass laws and regulations are supported by the Repair Association and other advocacy groups, significant changes could likely occur. Next slide, please. So, if the right to repair can provide so many advantages, then what is stopping this from happening? There have been few arguments against rights to repair that just make sense. So the first one is user safety, which is the most compelling reason against the right to repair. Some devices shouldn't be allowed to repair without professional help since they are complicated and interconnected, and it is not easy uh, as easy as replacing just a battery in old phones. Any mishandling can result in device catching fire or the user getting hurt with the sharp metal parts. Also, to make something repairable, companies would have to spend more time and money on modulation research and development, which in turn could make a device less efficient because of the bigger and removable parts that needs to be accommodated in that small device. Companies cannot afford to hinder efficiency and performance just to make it repairable and hence make it a difficult decision for manufacturers. Next slide. So what is the ultimate solution for that? Next slide. There is no golden rule that can be set up for both the manufacturers and the repair or the consumers. Setting up the infrastructures to responsibly recycle the old tech, separate the materials, and increase the use of recycled material in new devices can help in reduce the waste and carbon emission, which is the sole goal of rights to repair. So with this, we are at the end of the presentation. Thank you.